it would be manager and employee interaction, because what I feel is recognition, growth, and engagement all come to the life through managers. Train the managers to appreciate in a moment, not just during the appraisals or the quarterly meetings. And also build the reflection into one-on-one and not just into the task and the ticking exercise. So for me, managers and the employee relation is most important, is what I feel.
Yeah, valid. I agree, Pinkash. I think that is still remains at the heart of the employee experience, most of all. So no debate there. If I were to go down the continuum, probably after the manager experience, I mean, we finally are people. We respond to people and people interactions. So I think probably the team dynamic or culture probably is a close second in terms of how employees interact with each other. For me, and what I do feel, what I see in many of our customers' workplaces, I think the workplace design itself starts kicking in after that in terms of the ambience, the sort of facilities, the overall culture and vibe of the workplace as well. Probably represents a pure experience, other than benefits and rewards.
So to introduce this theme, just want to build it up. HR leaders are doing everything right. We're running surveys, we are launching programs, but we keep hearing the same pain points, right? Nothing sticks, attrition hits silent teams, and managers don't know how to appreciate sometimes. Clearly, there is a disconnect between intention and impact, which brings us to the theme of today, which is why employee engagement still feels broken in 2025. Veena, how are you seeing this play across your teams, maybe your clients as well?
So I would not say, or I would not agree that engagement is totally broken. I would rather say that, our approach is slightly outdated, or we need to revamp our approach with the current pace. Meaning, I mean, if I have to explain it better, you have heard companies or the HRs talking about the surveys, the dashboard, ENPS scores. And you've also heard about companies where the scores are very high, but we still see the sign of disconnect. We see the silent exits, the rising burnout, attrition. That doesn't end there. Why is the employee engagement, or why there is a disengagement? The issue is that what I feel strongly, I feel is we don't see that engagement. Uh, um, Let me explain it this way. People are looking for something deeper now. They want to be heard. They want to feel safe. They want to feel valued and supported and seen in the organization. That's where engagement should connect, not just with the surveys or dashboards or ENPS score, is what I feel. It is not broken. Our approach needs a revamp, is what I feel.
Yeah. Vikasha, may I add on?
Yes, please.
Perfect. I just building on what Veena said, sharing my observations of working with some of our customers. Um, I think a lot of things you mentioned, like a NPS survey, can be extremely powerful. However, only if you are really committed to seeing it through like end to end, which requires a lot of work and going deep, right? So I'll tell you where I see sometimes a disconnect is there is a bit of a tick the box approach saying, hey, we heard about X, so we'll do some Y against it. But I sometimes feel the commitment is a little lacking in truly following it through to outcomes, right? Let me kind of take one example which I've seen very commonly. And of course, since I come from the benefit space, I'll take like a benefits example, right? And Veena would have more rewards examples as well,
यहीं
or
से
recognition examples. Um,
पहचाने ना
Hi, Bhavna. Sorry, if you could mute yourself. Perfect. So, yeah, one very common example is like we see a lot of companies very eager to have annual health checkups or health checkups of some kind. as part of their benefits. I'm guessing because they understand employee health, productivity, absenteeism are all sort of issues that they want to deal with. I see very, very few companies thinking about what next, even if you do get a health checkup done. Actually, there are 4 or 5 steps before an employee will make a meaningful change. So, of course, they get the checkup, but then they need some advice to interpret the results. They need some support with interventions. They need some support with lifestyle management. And then they need somebody seeing it through, right? That is the checkup leading to some actual change in the employee's life? And are we enabling that as an employer? I see very few organizations making that jump to just move beyond the first step. And I think that's where some of the efforts also fall short, right? If I were to give an example from a benefits perspective.
Veena, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, in terms of rewards, if I have to add, what practice that we should start focusing on is it's not just yearly recognition or the quarterly, the town halls that we do or the offsites that we do, and we recognize the people there. Instead, we should start focusing on the daily wins, introduce the culture of recognition in your daily routine, or bring that as a process, and have the conversations that are two-way, not just from the top down. You empower your managers, you empower your peers, uh, and build the culture of recognition and celebrate the small wins. That's how you engage your the employees in the organization, I would say. That's how you build the engagement.
Could you think of like some ways where uh, you have introduced some daily recognitions in your organization?
Yes, I would say we have introduced peer award. We have introduced the sport awards. I mean, we wanted to shift our focus and approach from the quarterly rewards. It is not just we, recognize people only on the town halls or only on the offsites, but we want to empower the peers. Like if I from the quality from the team or the product team, somebody feels that somebody has done good job in the from the engineering team or from the customer support team, you don't need you don't have to wait till the town hall to send that appreciation. You have the option to appreciate the peer using the peer award. We also have the value badges. You can use the value badge and recognize the peers. We also have the empowered team managers to recognize the team. So these are some of the approaches we do. Not everything is monetary, but we try and introduce that, we empower people there and not making anyone dependable on this quarterly meetings or the town halls or offsites. That's what is our focus.
Aditya, you would like to add something here? Have you seen any interesting value addition in terms of appreciations that managers have done? Could be peer-to-peer appreciations you've seen in your experience.
Um, Maybe I'll if it's okay, Pinkash, I'll move to I was like just thinking about this, right? Move away from appreciation for a second. Uh, it's something that struck me many times being in the space we are, that there are some moments of truth sometimes for employees, right? Where if the organization turns up or shows up at that time, then it leaves a very lasting impression and kind of creates very deep engagement for the employee. And of course, being healthcare centric, at Pazcare, we are seeing a lot of critical events in the employees' lives, their accidents, their illnesses of themselves or their families, and other severe critical events as well, unfortunately. And what I have noticed is, um, many of our customers have the ability to, as HRs, the ability to turn up for employees at those times when they are really distressed, right? And this can be in the middle of the night. And I know HR leaders very, very senior HR leaders who are able to, engage with the employee, even if it's briefly, right? Reassure them that the organization's behind them, that their job is not at risk, that they will go that extra mile to make sure that things are okay for them. And maybe, as Veena talked about, it's not about a schedule or a cadence, but it's also sort of choosing occasions in everyday life to turn up. And I thought those were kind of beautiful examples where those leaders have really built a cult following in employees and really engaged some employees deeply because they turned up when things were very hard. And I think their peers also observe this and they kind of notice what's happening. So sorry, it's not really about a recognition, but it's in a way recognizing the value of the employee when
Yes.
somebody very senior does engage at those times that I would call out. Like, I know a lot of our audience may intuitively realize this, but I think it's a good thing to recognize that if you can spot those in a timely manner, if you can sort of be present, that really matters to the employee as well.
No, well agreed with you both. Recognition, when done right, more inclusively and real time, actually starts closing the gap. That brings us to the poll, the first poll of the day. I'm going to launch the poll and would really like if everybody engages with the poll. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how engaged are your employees today? Where 1 means highly disengaged, 10 means very highly engaged. So I'll keep the poll for the next 30 seconds. Would really like people to put up their answers. Okay. I hope you guys are able to see the results of the poll. Uh, Not very clear, I feel. We have 2 people who have said a 5. There are 4 people who've marked a 6 and some 8.
I mean, I think it's illuminating. Uh, I, yeah, maybe not totally broken, but I do see, like, all the research we also see there is a fairly large gap in terms of kind of it's hard to keep every employee engaged.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
But
Uh,
it's nice to see
Clearly
some
reflecting,
honesty coming out.
of course.
All right. So, Veena, as you rightly said, that employees expect appreciation which is more timely, which is very personal and truly relevant to their lives, not looked as a standard perk. Uh, we are moving into a place where rewards should be flexible, instantly accessible, and shaped around each person's value, whether that's growth or well being, health, or any memorable experience. We want to explore in this theme how companies are actually making this shift to shaping more meaningful employee experiences through recognition and rewards. Veena, here I would like to ask you first. How do you feel companies are making this shift? And if they are, how what are some ways that you have noticed?
Can Aditya take this up? I would need a minute.
Of course. Uh, so when it comes to sort of adding meaning to recognition, right, Pinkasha, I'll share maybe an interesting experience. Just a couple of weeks back, we were speaking with a very large financial services firm based in the west of India, one of the most biggest brand names in the country when it comes to like stockbroking and financial planning and similar services. And they approached us to kind of organize, like, use our platform for a stepathon. And when they kind of talked more about it, I realized they had set up a reward store. I don't think it was Zozade Veena, but it was definitely they'd set something up like that. And they were actually rewarding employees for a lot of healthy behaviors, as part of their overall strategy. They were kind of allocating reward points for participation in stepathons and company sports events, and few other things that were sort of, healthy behaviors they wanted to encourage. And I was struck by that. It was a very different strategy to reward. Mostly we see performance based rewards, or maybe sometimes some kind of behaviors that the organization wants to drive. This was one company where I truly felt they were trying to show that they cared about the employees managing their lives and health better. Um, and when you talk about meaning, I just thought it connected very well with their core values, and they were expressing it extremely well using rewards. So that's an experience that really stood out in my mind as something which could be very different. Veena, I'm sure you see hundreds of rewards programs, so you're probably the expert. Reward and recognition programs. What do you think that changes things to become more meaningful?
I would quote the recent approach that we followed. We Our R&R program was mainly based for the India employees. Back till 2024, I think we introduced a global R&R program, which we introduced, where we wanted to keep our recognition program, which is very, very inclusive. We have different region peoples. We have people based out of India. We have people based out of US. We have Dubai, Indonesia. They come from different culture. They come from different region, and the recognition and the rewards have a different meaning and value uh, in each region. So we wanted to, our approach was, how do we make it uniform approach? One, how do we introduce and relaunch, basically. We have already used R&R program and we wanted to relaunch our program. We introduced it as an Elevate, the program R&R program as Elevate. And um, we what we did is, how do I make this meaningful? Like, I want my employees to participate in this program. I want everyone to understand what Zozoday is doing in terms of reward. So we follow different approach where, when we have our product Impulse, which is R&R platform. So how do I use this product and make sure that all of my employees from different region are involved in this and understand the program? It is not just the participation rate that I wanted to increase. I wanted all of the employees to understand what the program is, how we will drive the R&R, how it is employees feel that this rewards that is introduced is uh, seen, they are heard, they are visible in the organization. Irrespective, it is not that we are only focusing on the India based, but we are also making sure that other regions are focused. So we introduced this R&R program, and we have seen, I can say that the adoption rate was more than 70% when we did that in the organization. So, we made that our rewards were uniform. The points that we gave was uniform. We introduced the COLI, the cost living factor, where we made sure that our awards, whatever the awards that we introduced, um, are like we have considered the cost living factor of all the regions. We made sure that the R&R, uh, the structures what we have, the how we have designed each rewards are, we have kept all the regions in mind and kept it uniform. So I think we wanted to create that experience to employees, that this is not just a program to introduce, but this is for you, and this is part of your daily life.
All right, thank you. Um, so brings us to the second poll. How do you understand your employees' point of view when it comes to their benefits or experience with work? It's a multiple choice question. Please feel free to tick mark whichever applies to you. Okay, so here are the results. Uh, Most of us run monthly or quarterly surveys, but we do have a few people who say that we let the managers represent employees' point of view. And we have a person who says that right now we don't involve our employees when it comes to selecting the benefits or their experience with work. Do you have something to add here, both Veena and Aditya? That is it nice to know that companies are doing monthly, quarterly surveys, or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't agree that employees are not involved. Often, we any benefits that is introduced, any rewards that is introduced in the organization, it is always, we understand the pulse of the organization, of the employees, and then that is introduced. We want the rewards or the benefits that we extend is sustainable. So we always do the pulse check and then introduce. That's, I mean, I see the response majorly lying on monthly or quarterly. It is always heard, and that's anything we introduce, we want it to be sustainable. Hence, employees views are must to the any of the benefits that we introduce.
Yeah. Um, Adding on a little bit here, Pinkasha, my experience, since it specifically talks about benefits, I think it's rare for employers to have surveys specifically focused on benefits. Generally, they are like these broader ENPS surveys where a lot of other things take up mind space for sure. So I think maybe some of our customers, they do conduct an annual benefits focus survey so that they can plan benefits programs better. I think that's a great practice. Or maybe one of the quarters we do kind of more of a drill down on the benefit side of NPS in a way, maybe. um, but also I kind of wanted to share with the group here what I've seen as a little bit of a challenge. Some of our customers are actually afraid to ask about preferences because they feel that it will lead to entitlement, saying, hey, you asked me if I should get XYZ. I said yes, but then you're not giving it to me. So that's a little bit of a tricky thing that I notice. Few HRs a little worried if they should actually ask about preferences a lot, because they are afraid that they'll be cornered into making it'll be seen as a commitment. So I mean, I don't know if there's a great practice here, but other companies, some starting to matter, at least for similar companies. So if the audience here, they're not doing a benchmarking around benefits, I would encourage you, please try it or do it, because it can be helpful to understand who you're fighting against in your talent pool, especially when it comes to the employer value proposition. I think a lot of our HR customers say now that when they're hiring, salaries are so, like, it's so formula driven about salaries and growth that a lot of employees are also deciding employer based on benefits. So I think it's starting to become very important that there are market competitive benefits as well. So that's my
Yeah,
thing.
I want to add here. So when we discuss with the candidates while we onboard, uh, earlier it was all about the salaries. What is the CTC? What do I take home? How do I save the tax? What is that you have? I can save the tax. The conversation ends there. And from there to now, what is organization offering? What is the benefit that you have introduced? What is the benefit that did not go well? Is there any, what is the benefits that you are aiming for next year? So, and there are sometimes, while we have the senior folks with us in the conversation, they also asked, what is the benefit that you have withdrawn? So I think the conversation largely
That's
is
interesting.
stuck beyond C2C, and people want to understand how organization cares for the employees. What is that we extend?
It's very interesting. I'm sure it must be extremely extremely sharp in like North America, for example, because I remember having reportees based in North America who would simply not switch jobs because the benefits were so great, right? Like, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
dental benefits. They scare North Americans so much that if I have a dental event, I'm going to lose so much out of pocket that she would just not move because of the dental benefits that her children are using. It's sometimes we lose track that how much this can matter. And I think India is going the same direction with the healthcare
yeah,
infrastructure
yeah.
going there. Yeah.
But there, it is mandatory when benefits are like equally important, like how the salaries, and there is no compromise and there is no discounts on that. Yeah, yeah, we definitely see the difference while we are talking to the candidates there and here. India, it is slightly helpful, though we are moving to that direction. But US is very, very difficult to negotiate.
Especially in the technology domain, where I think there's a lot more mixing of sort of experiences and practices between North America, Europe, India as people move back and forth. I think awareness is
Yeah,
super high. Yeah.
yeah, agree.
I'm sure that this is another problem that HRs face is when any survey is rolled out, could be a monthly or an ENPS survey. The the number of people who actually fill out the surveys is always low, and there's always sometimes a problem in encouraging employees to fill out the surveys. uh, what's been your experience in pushing the employees, or have you experienced this? If yes, then any steps that companies can take to make it more fun, or maybe encourage more employees to fill the survey, because it's nice to always know their point of view.
Um, this question is for whom? Aditya or for me?
Yeah, go ahead, please. I'm sure you've seen many more examples.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the surveys, yes. I mean, any surveys, not for employees, any surveys that we get. I mean, now that you go for shopping or you talk to the customer care, you always end up getting the surveys. And I mean, it is a human tendency, not the employee tendency. I would say that, we do not respond to the surveys. And that is always a challenging. And there are people who respond. There are most likely it is like the percentage is sometimes 50-50 or less than that. So how do we get the employee respond to the survey? We are not different. We have also faced the challenges. So we have used different approach. While we don't need the comments and we only want the opinion, we use poll. We have the option in Impulse poll. And that's one of the fastest approach which I've seen. Like most of the employees have responded, and that has been helpful for us, where we need a quick response. And sometimes we need surveys. We do not end up having many questions. The attention span is always less. So how do you keep it crisp? And how do you have maximum 5 to 6, 7? We try to keep less questions so that we have the response coming in, and we send constant nudge. And we also ensure, I mean, it is not always driven by technology. Human connect is required. We do talk to the employees and ask, hey, did you see the survey? Did you get a chance to fill the survey? That will be helpful. So we give that constant nudge through system, less while we are meeting them. That helps us to get the response. That's the approach we follow.
Mm, sounds great.
Yeah, I do
I'll
like the
add
idea.
on.
Okay.
Quickly to add on to Veena's points, couple of observations from the Pazcare experience. I mean, we don't really run employee surveys, but we do a lot of employee satisfaction with the different kinds of benefit services they're consuming. So a couple of learnings for me have been adding on to what Veena said, which are all like very applicable. First is I've seen like picking up feedback at the point of sort of some moment of truth at the point of consumption really helps us. So I can tell you, like when it comes to whether it's insurance claims or any gym membership usage or a health checkup usage, the best chance of getting a response is at the time the person gets the service delivered, or gets the report, right, or actually accesses the service. So I think that topical relevance also helps driving more awareness. I don't know for like NPS where that would fit in, probably around appraisal time or around the annual cycle. Maybe it would be the brutal responses. The second observation, the last one from me, is just in the same vein as Veena said of having less friction, like less time, less questions. Just making it like login free and on the mobile can really work wonders. So
Yeah.
anytime they're asking for feedback, just make it very, very simple to fill. Don't ask people to log in. Let them do it from the mobile phone. Even that itself could move the response rate by 10-20%. So using platforms like that, of course, technologies involved here is something beneficial to drive more participation.
Yeah, also, I would like to add, like when I give the feedback, I, as an individual, when I give the feedback, I'm also curious what happens to my feedback. I think if we pay attention there, then we will start getting the response. So if they see that there is a value add to my response to the survey, I would feel more interested to respond to the next survey. So there is a closure that is required. When we do that, we will also have people responding to the survey.
Totally agree with you. Okay, so moving on, we want to now speak about what does flexible benefits mean in 2025 and beyond this year. So we've talked about how recognition and rewards can be made more meaningful and more personal, but I feel that's just one piece of the puzzle. The same shift is happening in broader benefit space, and employees today just don't want the perks. They also want choice, they also want flexibility and ownership. So, yeah, that brings us to the next theme, which is what does flexible benefits mean in 2025? Over to you, Aditya. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm probably well placed to answer this. Given the nature of our business. So, I mean, just breaking down flexibility from our perspective, for an employee, employers create flexibility in multiple ways. Obviously, like even things like work from home or leave policies or ability to structure our own salary is flexibility that employees value. Obviously, right? And kind of what we've seen and what we've been trying to drive as well in the benefit space is probably taking that theme a couple of steps forward, which is kind of making benefits very flexible. And like the realization here is that basically employees are diverse, right? And especially now in companies who are growing very fast, hiring a lot of young talent, sometimes the gap between what senior people in the organization value versus what the new generation and young employees coming in value can become very wide. And so we see so many employers like struggling to figure out how can I have a set of benefits that make everyone happy, right? And I think that's where the concept of sort of flexible benefits has really kicked off. And now of course we see we have a platform for providing flexible benefits where employees can mix and match and choose their own benefits. And I know it's a big theme in North America, in Europe, right? Companies like Pharma have made an entire sort of detailed business model out of it. And what we are seeing is that the interest level in giving that kind of flexibility is very high. A lot of employers are starting to see value in letting employees choose, and partly because they are noticing this diversity in the workforce in terms of their requirements. However, there are a few roadblocks that are still tricky, right? So we hear customers saying, "Hey, what if people compare benefits and they say you have this, but I have something different? How is that possible?" Right? So that's sort of a little old-fashioned, maybe. And also they're scared that there will be too much complexity in employees for employees, and it will overwhelm the employees with choice. And they're really scared of the administrative workload of trying to do things in a flexible way. So we see the roadblocks, and which we try to solve for them. But we are definitely seeing probably exponentially growing interest in flexible benefits. Like if last year it was 1 out of 50 conversations, now it's becoming 1 out of 10 conversations where people are showing genuine interest in flexibility.
And the same goes for even the recognitions and appreciations. For example, Veena, you mentioned that recognition should be more real time. It
Yeah.
should not always need to be monetary. It could also be more value driven, it could be work driven, it could be performance driven or emotion driven. So anything that you would like to add here? Would love to know your experience.
For me, when I talk about flexibility, it doesn't fit. It is not one size that fits all. So, flexi benefit, the name itself says that, it is a choice and it should be relevant. It should be flexible enough for employees to have the choice. So, companies also, most of the companies are now are focusing on having the flexi benefits in employee in their different life stage. For example, there are the Gen Zs, there are young parents, there are remote workers, there are people who are prioritizing on the mental health. So you have your benefits catering the employee's life stage. There are different employees in different age group and different segments, and you should have that choice for employees to have the choice of the benefit. For example, there are some learning, there are some benefits where employees, the early parents, they need the flexibility. It is not that only the leave that you extend, right? You say that we give maternity, we give paternity, and then you give extended leave. It is not all about that. You also provide that benefit to employee when there is a need. It is not about, say, that there are employees who are an early parent, and you give that benefit or flexibility to the employee at times that there are some meetings where it is not important for employee to be part of the meeting. You can say that, okay, if the employee says that, I need this time for me at the time, at this moment, and manager allows and gives that benefit, is flexibility. It is not just showing the policies and say that we have policy and we give that flexibility, and not having only as a document, but we really give that provision to the employees, is what I feel.
And
That
Kasha,
matters in 2025.
if I may add on as a closing thought, as just occurring to me, I should probably talk about this as well. Just one message I would leave behind with the audience, if if you're thinking of flexibility and kind of evaluating the pros and cons, two important things that I would suggest you take back from this probably. First one is very powerful, which Veena referred to, is like segmentation, right? Life stage, sometimes geography, sometimes other dimensions that really matter. So kind of doing a good fact-based segmentation really helps. And you have data about employees, you have data about their past behaviors, adoption. So that becomes very powerful, because then you don't need to make guesses. You can do a little focus grouping with each segment, or you can create assortments of benefits which are more relevant for each segment. And the last one was, since Veena and I both belong to sort of technology platforms, there is good technology out there to take the headache away. So a lot of people get scared by the fact of dealing with 20 vendors or 30 different categories of benefit, and how will I manage all of this and tax deduction and everything. A lot of this has been solved by technology. So I mean, I would say please keep an open mind and explore the technology out there, because there's some very, very strong technology solutions which can help manage the complexity well now. Yeah.
All right. So bringing up the poll, the third poll, which is where we want to know, okay, what is the most underutilized part of your current wellness strategy? It could be your insurance or wellness benefits. It could be preventive health checkups. It could be learning and development programs or insurance benefits. What do you think is very underutilized? Okay, we have started to see responses now. All right, so we are going to jump on the next theme very soon, but this also the survey answers and takes us to the next theme. So the most underutilized part of the wellness strategy I see here is the mental health support plan.
Wow, Pinkasha, that was prescient. it's
Yeah.
I think it's pointing to the next topic you wanted to drive.
Yes, so like employees are balancing far more than their jobs today. Many are caregivers, so many are parents, and everybody is trying to manage personal health as well. So mental wellness, what does it mean for you? How are companies driving it? How are companies reshaping it? Any examples you have from your experience, both Veena and Aditya?
I mean, maybe I can kick it off and talk about more the hard side of mental wellness support, and Veena can maybe talk about the more cultural soft side, possibly. So, mental wellness is one of the benefit areas that we are seeing probably the most consistent growth in interest in. OPD being the other one, which is probably even more stronger. So a lot of companies, I would say maybe more than 50% of companies we speak to will check about mental wellness benefits or support programs. Are they part of our platform, or should they include it in their benefits? So they want to include it in their benefits, right? So I think there's growing recognition that employees need that support to deal with burnout, deal with stress, to deal with personal events, which I think is a good thing, really good thing. I would say around 10% of companies we speak to are probably going a step beyond the basics on sort of therapist support, etc., into going into more advanced solutions like EAP programs where you get like a package of practices and sort of consistent follow-up, etc. But yeah, Kasha, fundamentally, it's a theme that we are seeing growing consistently. Uh, Although, as I said, sort of there is a degree of check in the box versus truly caring about it, even in the customers we work with. Some folks want it as a benefit because they believe it's something that the market wants, and they don't really think too much about it. And some really care about how it drives outcomes as well, and they want to see that. The last thing I'll leave behind before maybe handing over to Veena is I still feel there's a bit of uh, acceptance is still slowly building about mental wellness support, and the taboo around mental wellness support is slowly going away, and the sensitivity around it still needs some work, I feel. Like I have seen some customers wanting to know about which of my employees has taken a therapist session. They want to reconcile it, and we tell them we can't tell you that because that's a little personal. If somebody is going through a crisis, we can't really share that information, but that sensitivity is probably not there. And also there is a bit of a reluctance to reach out for help. There's a bit of a taboo around it. So I hope all of us as people leaders or in that space are driving to kind of remove that taboo or remove that perception that this is something that I can't talk about. I feel it's really needed. Veena, please add on what you think.
Um, I mean, this is something this has come in more existence or more in light after pandemic, I feel. It's more talked topic among the HR, my HR connects that I have. We always try and talk about the EAP programs that is introduced or having the sessions around mental wellness. But I personally, I mean, I did not see the success rate in my organization. We did introduce during the pandemic, and we had the assistant programs, and the percentage was very, very low. I don't say that the employees are all very happy and hence they are not opting for the program, but I would say that there is the resistance, like how is the data, how is my the records or the discussions that I have is confidential. I think that is still a barrier and a blocker for employees. And I did not see that, I mean, doing well in our organization. We did introduce a lot of sessions during the pandemic, and we kept that EAP programs uh, along for some time, and we did not see that happening. But we took a different approach. We started introducing some other benefits. We thought that people are still not comfortable, or there is they prefer having their own personal um, instructor or some they want to discuss with them and not use the company platform. So I did not see that happening. So I will not be able to add much value to this.
Your experience is
Uh,
bang on, Meena. Like
yeah. So
what
I
we are
will.
observing is like the extensive EAP programs. We are hearing a lot of stories that adoption is too low and
Yeah.
companies not really seeing the value. And we always tell them, hey, set it up as a pay-as-you-go model so that as and when an employee uses it, then you don't have to kind of do an ROI assessment of it. But I agree with you, we see very low. What we have seen, however, is providing like small capsule type of mental wellness support, saying, hey, I just want to speak to a counselor right now, and it can be over a chat and it can be fairly short and not making it into a big formal program. We do see more employees warming up to it because the friction is low and you're not really thinking that I'm entering this whole program where I will need to go for months, and the commitment is low.
Yeah.
And I think that is maybe the right level right now, given most employees openness to it, to kind of put the support there. Don't make it very extensive, don't make it feel like it's a big thing, and then see how the adoption goes and maybe build more upon
Yeah,
it.
yeah. We tried that. We tried the webinars. We tried pushing our employees to the webinars and trying to see if that works. Um, we didn't see the good visibility there also. So we didn't focus much and we shifted our approach.
Okay. So, but yeah, we would also like to know, okay, now that most of the companies have an approach to mental health, so it's always nice to know what is their approach. So I'm quickly launching a poll. If you could just help us understand what is your approach right now? Do you have a very structured wellness program, or do you believe in offering one-to-one therapy session? Even it's okay even if you don't have a formal approach. It's just a whole question that we want to ask. Yeah, please go ahead and answer this.
Because I hope the results will be private, right? Be confidential.
Yeah, these are anonymous, so although we can see the results, but we don't know who's answering what. It's just to know the opinion of our audience. So a lot of our audience members are running periodic wellness sessions on managing stress, anxiety, sleep, both virtual and in office.
Yeah, followed by counseling and therapy. Yeah, that rings true based on our experience as well. I think very few organizations are going into a fully structured program,
Okay, which should have all of these.
which could have all of these plus self-help tools, content,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah.
Okay. So brings us to the last theme of the day. We've talked about how mental wellness requires long-term changes and requires some patience in how we design the structure to it. The same goes for benefits, the same goes for rewards. So it's not just about what you offer, but it's also about how you deliver it, how well it aligns with the employee's needs over time. Veena and Aditya, would would you like to add a few examples that you've seen of organizations getting the theme right? Like rewards and benefits are a long-term investment and not just a checkbox.
um, sure, Meena, if I may start, maybe I'll
Yeah, yeah, please. Yeah,
share
yeah,
my
please.
experience. Like just
Yeah.
picking up this theme of long term versus short term. One unfortunate reality of sort of benefit programs that I'm observing in India is that they tend to be very annual cycles, and so you end up sort of trying to optimize for the year, right? And what I mean by that is I mentioned OPD, right? Outpatient support for employees, which a lot of organizations are starting to add to the health insurance, mainly because younger employees see much more relevance in it than, they don't really expect hospitalization very commonly. And so it's been driven by an employee pool. However, the true power of sort of preventive care and primary care is meant to be to reduce the critical events and the secondary care that may be needed, right? However, that is a more of a long-term effect that happens over 2 to 3 years of consistently supporting good habits, awareness, and primary care and diagnostics with employees. And that's one thing which I feel, Pinkasha, most organizations we meet struggle with. Very rare cases where somebody is willing to invest today to see returns over 2 to 3 years. Unfortunately, the reality of things, when we know that this will lead to my healthcare expenses as an organization coming down over time, very few employers are willing to put an investment there. And I think part of the problem is, again, very few kind of follow it through to check on adoption and drive adoption and are consistent, right, in driving that. So if I were to kind of talk about long term versus short term, I think there is tremendous value in focusing on the long term lifestyle illnesses, postural related illnesses, right? They're rising like nobody's business. I know employers and everyone realizes this is a big problem, but nobody's able to invest in them, or I don't think nobody's seriously investing in them because it's a long-term investment. And I would love it if a few HR folks on this call would take away a message or a mission that, hey, I don't care. I want to bring down outcomes of, say, chronic metabolic illness over 2 to 3 years. And that's a mission that everyone is aligned to. And we will make that investment upfront in year 1, 2 if it requires it. And we will see results in year 2, 3, 4. And there are beautiful programs. We have a partner called Twin Health. We just brought on board to reverse diabetes, obesity, hypertension. There is this whole new Monjaro based therapies, and which we are bringing on the platform via startups as well. But these are all expensive treatments and long term investments. But there is actually a great return on investment if you're willing to look at 2 to 3 year horizon. So yeah, my limited message is we are doing a poor job when it comes to thinking of the long term. That's my experience on the benefit side, based on what I hear. Veena, any experiences you'd like to share here?
Sorry. I will continue to what you have told. You were talking about the investment. I will talk about the return on investment. So why is it necessary to have this as a how is your rewards is long-term investment, but how will it help the organization and return on investment? If the organization plans the benefits and the programs um, uh, rightly, which is adding value, then we can improve the retention, we can reduce the attrition cost, we can reduce the burnout, we can reduce the absenteeism, we can enhance the employee satisfaction. So if we have the um, right approach, I mean, you don't have to offer everything. When I say benefit, it is not that you offer everything, like say give OPD, give therapies, give preventive checks, and have everything. But if it is not well understood, if it is not delivered right, if it is not structured and programmed well, then it is definitely a cost to the company. So anything you introduce, um, it should be well thought. How is it adding to our values? How is it beneficial to our employees? When I talk about the benefits or I'm talking about the rewards, how it is aligned to our organization goal? How is it aligned when I'm talking about wellness? How is it helping the employee? Is my benefit inclusive? I don't want to give 10 things. And when I see how much is it utilized, if I see the ratio is 20% or 30%, then whatever I've introduced during the year, when I don't see the utilization, then it's I would say that this investment is gone for toss. So I always I feel that I should have the limited uh, benefits, but very impactful benefit. So all of us should see. Let's talk about health now. Uh, we recently introduced the health checkup. in the organization, and this year we introduced, and we recently I wanted to understand. Now that I have the webinar, I also wanted to understand what is the ratio, how many percentage of the people have utilized. I got that around 35% have utilized it, but I still see that, the ratio is less. If I have introduced this benefit, I need this benefit. Employees should avail this benefit. So what is my next step is I introduce offline. So I was talking to the Pazcare team and asking them to have this set up offline in my office. And this is work in progress basically. So we are trying to set this up in office and make sure that it is not just a tick mark to me. I also wanted to understand how is the health check on my employees. So this is what I mean. We want to make sure that our employees are safe, are healthy. And this is definitely a long-term investment, but there is a ROI attached to that.
Yeah, you make a couple of very, very interesting points, Veena. Uh, I think it's like this. It's genuine insights. First of all, I think end of the day, the commercial structure matters of how you get these benefits, and we kind of encourage a lot of our customers to say, hey, go for consumption based models because you're not so confident what the adoption will be, right? You want to see the impact. So if you're trying something new, you can go for a consumption based model, right? Instead of saying, hey, I need it for everyone, and I upfront need that. It's better to, I know it feels a little risky saying I can't estimate my budget fully and how much will people use and maybe it will run away, but actually it is a much safer strategy to go for something consumption based. That's one, I think, that would be a good learning if somebody is considering it. And the second one you correctly pointed out is sort of measuring the outcomes. You pointed to absenteeism, right?
Yeah,
And maybe even down the line attrition, retention, and things of that nature. If the program is well set up to target certain health outcomes or employee outcomes, and then we drive towards it, I think that's the right construct. And then, as you can see some encouraging trend and you have the confidence to continue for the longer term. That definitely builds more momentum to kind of think long term rather than short term. So absolutely, I mean, these are missed. These seem obvious, but many times these are missed. We don't frankly, very few benefit programs where an outcome is defined as a target. We don't
yeah.
really see it, and I think that's a great learning. Yeah.
Okay, so we are almost on time, but I would like to pause here and uh, grasp all the information and ask our audience members if they want to directly ask a few questions to our hosts. So I've enabled the unmute option as well. If anyone would like to unmute themselves, ask any question, or even put it on the chat, we're open. The floor is open for the next 5 minutes. Okay, while we are on this, I would like to pull up the last poll of today, where we want to understand what do your employees value the most in the benefits package? So, flexibility like work from home or a remote culture or monetary rewards are topping this poll. Maybe we can have like a couple of minute discussion on this.
I just find it interesting. I think I'm interesting to see that flexibility is neck to neck with monetary rewards and benefits. It's a good learning. I know there's like this massive debate about the work from home kind of
I
flexibility.
was touching there when I saw the flexibility, work from home, the remote option. I think that's more exciting.
That's a trickier one, but
Yeah, yeah,
many kinds of flexibility are still probably unused by employers. I think,
yeah.
especially with good technology, you can keep kind of pretty good control on the flexibility as well. I think we should.
It's going hand in hand, monetary rewards and
Monetary rewards is gonna be number one. I think is a no-brainer.
it's always. And I think work from home also. Everyone wants remote option.
I think that's a reflection on traffic. Maybe this may be a Bangalore-centric
Bangalore.
calculation.
Yeah, agree.
All right.
Kasha, you didn't put freedom from traffic as one of the benefits. That would top by far.
That would, yeah,
We are not sure
100%
what
vote
company
on
is
that.
doing more about it, but yeah, definitely. It's thought. Okay, so we will share the recording. We've recorded the session. We'll put this up on our channels. Thank you again, everybody. Special thanks to you, Veena and Aditya, for coming online, spending an hour with us, and sharing your valuable insights. Very helpful. Ending this webinar now. We didn't get any questions, but we included a lot of questions that people filled in designing the themes of the webinar. So thank you again. I'm sharing a quick feedback form on the chat with everybody. If you could take out a minute and fill out this feedback, it'll help us prepare better, make our topics better, and host you better next time. Thank you again. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks,
Have a good
Aditya.
one.
Thanks, Nikasha.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Veena.
Veena.